Hello my friends, welcome to a fun video where I get to talk about favorite things. My favorite books of the last few months, my favorite things of summer. It feels ridiculous wearing a sweater when I'm filming a summer video, but it's been a rainy, cool morning, so it will become summer I think in a few hours. Right now it's a little chilly. So I don't even know how many books here, like 7 fiction books to share, I think 4 nonfiction, and then a few other bonus favorite things that I'm loving this summer. Obviously, we're going to be talking about books that I loved in the last little bit, so it's exciting because I don't have to talk about like books I didn't enjoy. At this point, I'm honestly thinking of quitting my monthly wrap-ups. I've talked about it before, I've thought about it before. I just don't really like filming them. And then I can just film these like favorites videos every few months. I might do that. Unless there's a huge outcry. I've also thought about just doing a written wrap-up where I write all my like books that I read for the month over on my Substack and do it that way. I'm kind of leaning towards that, unless there's a huge outcry. But let's talk about favorite things right now. So these are my favorite books from, we'll start with the fiction ones, April, May, and June. So the second quarter of the year, going into the summer. These were my favorites recently, and we'll just go in the order that I have them written on my list. The first one is The Betrayal of Eden by Erin Phillips. This was our indie book club book for April. Yes, and it's the first book in her Grimoire and Key series. I have book 2 queued up. It's like ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. Need to read book 2 right away. This series is apparently a Count of Monte Cristo reimagining, which doesn't mean anything to me because I haven't actually read that book. But we follow Eden, who works at this like prep school, but she actually lives in the slums. The people in the school don't even realize how poor she is because she pretends to live in this other house. But things happen throughout the book where she ends up getting betrayed and ends up in a jail. There is like this really cool magic system that is part of the book where you can send in a request for some magic, but every magic has to come with a price. And I thought it was very interesting how it was done. This is the first book that I read by Erin Phillips. Loved it. Can't wait to read more. This is going to be a trilogy, so I think the 3rd book will be coming out next year. So if you haven't started it yet, you don't have to wait too long. Then I have a adult science fiction called The Things We Can Change by Corinne Norton. This has to do with time travel, and this book just blew my mind in the best way. We follow these characters that work together. One of them is going to stay in like the present day, which is actually in our future. And the other one is going to time travel back, and they're able to communicate over time because of this connection that they have. And when our character that travels back in time goes back, all sorts of things go wrong. She is trying to stop an event that happened in this time that ends up kind of ruining life for everybody in the future. And the company that she works for keeps sending people back to try to fix this, and it keeps not working. And it's very interesting because they're sending people from different points in the future back to this time. And so there's like all this crossover of these different things. It hurt my brain a little bit, but I mean, time travel does that. And I really enjoyed what she did with it, enjoyed the ending. Definitely recommend the book. And then another favorite, which actually surprises me that it ended up on this list, is Mistress Pat, because I didn't really enjoy the first book, which was Pat of Silver Bush. I read that a couple years ago, and it was okay. Like, it was hard to read the one character's accent, and then I just didn't love anything about it. But for some reason, even though the character still had the same accent in here, I loved it. I did listen to most of it on audio, except the last 10 chapters weren't available. It was on YouTube. And that might have helped because I feel like it did make her accent a little bit easier to follow. But also, our main character in here was like 10 in the first book, and she starts out at like 20 in this one, and then we span 11 years. And it's even interesting because the main character, Patricia Gardner, hates change. She loves her life as it is and she doesn't want anything to change. But obviously, over the years of 20 to 31, lots of changes are going to be happening. Friends are going to be married. Life is just going to change. And I kind of love change. So reading a book about someone that was fighting it so much, I would have thought I wouldn't have loved that. But I did. I just really enjoyed this whole read. I'm so close to being done reading my Lucy Maud Montgomery books, which makes me sad. I think I'm done like all of the best ones. So soon I'll just have to go back and continually reread the best ones. Another favorite is called Before I Called You Mine. I think now I'm like second guessing the title. This is by Nicole Deese. And in this one we follow a first grade teacher who is single and is adopting from China. Now, she has told very few people that she's actually adopting, her best friend and a couple other people in her life, but like not her family, who she doesn't get along with super well because she doesn't think they're going to approve of it, I guess. And so she's adopting from China, and she signed up for the adoption as a single woman and has to stay single while going through the adoption process. That's part of the agreement. Even when we were adopting, one of the things that you weren't allowed to do in Saskatchewan was add another child into your home within 12 months of adopting. So if I had become pregnant during the adoption process, everything would have been put on hold. So I felt like I could relate to the story quite a bit, even though it was like kind of different, but it was kind of similar. I was also a teacher and working as a teacher while we were adopting. So there was many parts of the story that felt very relatable, I guess, for me. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Of course, there ends up becoming a first grade substitute teacher that is a man that our main character likes but can't pursue a relationship with because of the adoption. And then even the part where oh man, there were so many things that were like relatable to our adoption process. So I definitely recommend it. I really enjoyed it. Another favorite was Raccoon Key by Donna M. Cole. This is a dual timeline mystery book. The historical timeline is 1873, and it is still an unsolved mystery. So in the present day here, the author explores like maybe what could have happened. In the main timeline, in the present timeline, we're following a marine biologist, and she tracks loggerhead turtles, which I thought was just very fascinating, something very different. And then there was a woman that was murdered in a lighthouse in 1873. And the doctor and the coroner, people signed off saying it was suicide, but she was murdered in a way that suicide was not even possible. So the book explores reasons as to like maybe why people were covering it up. It felt, and I don't know how to say this, and I mean this in a positive way, but it felt very much like a very fictional story. Like I've read books kind of similar to this before, but then the idea that this is like based on a true story and it's still unsolved just added extra layers to me. Definitely enjoyed it. Then where are we going from there? Oh, let's go another dual timeline mystery type book. We've got Echoes from a Missing Generation by Christina Suzanne Nelson. This was one of my the books I was looking forward to reading the most this year. I had it on my 12 fiction books I wanted to read this year, and it was one that I was super excited to get to, and it did not disappoint. So I'm thankful for that. We are in 1970. This couple has just gotten married, and all of a sudden the husband is accused of murdering this, I think she's like late teens, this girl from the town. And there are some suspicious things as to like, the wife isn't really sure if she should believe him when he says he didn't murder her, and he's under investigation. And then I think he gets called up. He has to go register for the draft or something. He's on his way to the War Office, and no one ever hears from him again. And then we are set 50 years later with his granddaughter. So her father was never in the picture. And then also like her grandfather was never in the picture. She just wants to know like what has happened to the men in her lives, like whatever happened to her grandfather. Did he commit this murder? And yeah, there was a lot to it. I did not see where it ended up coming. I don't know if I worded that properly, but I was surprised. I thought about this for a long time after I was done reading it because it kind of haunted me in the best ways. I think that's the evidence of a really well-written story. And then my last fiction favorite that I'm going to talk about is Flame Theory by C.F.E. Black. This is the first book in the Bloodlines series. Don't know how long the series is going to be, but I say it's like Harry Potter, but university level, and people race dragons. So we follow a main character who is from a poor family, but somehow she manages to bond with a dragon, which apparently only the rich are supposed to be able to do. So with the help of this rich guy, she infiltrates this dragon racing school, pretends to be his niece so that she's actually one of the rich, and he sends her there to like uncover some big secret that's going on. This one family always wins every race and something suspicious is going on. So she's kind of sent there as a spy. And yeah, I mean, it's a series, so the story's not done, but I was very invested. Flew through it. Can't wait to continue the series. And then I wanted to highlight 4 nonfiction books that I have really enjoyed in the last few months. I've been reading a ton of nonfiction after reading like hardly any last year, and it's been great. So the first one is Eat, Drink, and Be Merry by Ray Ortland. This is just a short little book. Also, he narrates the audio. Would highly recommend the audio. It's so funny when he's like telling stories of his younger self, and like you can just hear him kind of like laughing at himself in a really just human way, I guess. Sometimes it can be easy to put these older Christian kind of like heroes up on a pedestal, and they're just humans. So this is just all about finding joy in life. And I really appreciate that, especially from someone that is older, when often people seem to tend to lose a lot of the joy in life. It was very well done. And then I also loved Surprised by Oxford. This was a memoir about she wasn't an atheist, but she was engaged to an atheist and was kind of like close to that herself, I think. She ended up going to Oxford, had some very deep discussions with fellow Christians and non-believers, and ends up coming to faith. And I just loved following her journey and the very in-depth conversations that she had, all with this Oxford backdrop. It was really good. And I never did end up watching the movie because I heard the movie kind of just butchered it, which I'm not surprised by at all. So I'm just gonna leave it at the book. And then she does have some other books as well that I will hopefully get to at some point, and also hopefully get to Oxford. Oh, such a dream. Another favorite, it's another short one, Memorizing Scripture by Glenna Marshall. I read this in June for my in-person book club. The subtitle is The Basics, Blessings, and Benefits of Meditating on God's Word. And it just talks about why we should be memorizing Scripture, gives practical tools that we could be using. And ever since I had my book club, they recommended an app called Bible Memory. I've talked about it in my Substack newsletter and on Instagram. And ever since I downloaded that app, I feel like I've been able to stick with it. For some reason, even though I had a similar app before, for some reason this one, it seems to be working for me. So I just really appreciate this book and my book club, all the people in my book club, for giving me the push to get back into memorizing Scripture, because it's been a struggle for me in the last number of years, even though I've tried to do it. The last nonfiction I have is on magic and miracles. This is all about the idea of, should Christians read fantasy? What is acceptable magic in fantasy books? It's super well researched. She watched, I think, over 200 interviews of people that had been in the occult, and did some in-depth study as to why people go into the occult. And I just really appreciated it, especially because there is a lot of conflicting thoughts and information about magic and like Christian fiction, Christian fantasy, and I just feel like she did a really good job. She came at it with a very unbiased attitude, which I appreciated, would highly recommend that. And then I'm going to talk about a few just like random items that I'm loving this summer. If you are subscribed to my Substack, which I hope you are, every week I send out a newsletter where I just talk about like some random things from the week that I enjoyed, noticed, thought was beautiful, etc. Not all of them are like tangible items, but some of them are. So some of these I have already shared on there. First of all, actually, this wasn't on my list to share, but I wrote my list in this little book. This is a little pocket notebook. This is my second one that in the last few months that I've been using. And this is just kind of an alternative to using my phone. I jot my notes down in here. It comes with me wherever I go. It's my to-do list. It's my everything list. If I want to Google something, but I'm afraid that when I open my computer, I'm going to get distracted and forget what I was doing and end up doing something else, I'll write down what I want to Google. I think I might eventually actually just do a whole video on it here. Originally, I was thinking of doing this on a different channel of mine, but I think that I'm just going to be bringing everything over here. So didn't intend to share this, but this has been a game changer. And I decorated it, my cover, with a little bit of a summer theme. Other summer favorites. First of all, movies. We've been watching some good old classic movies in our home. We watched Dennis the Menace recently. We watched It Takes Two. I want to watch The Parent Trap coming up. Just some like 90s classic children's movies. A summer must-have for me is my water bottle. I know the Owala water bottles have been popular, I don't know if they still are, for years. I've seen too many people with them tip them and spill them and make a giant mess, sometimes in like a church they're visiting and stuff, and those weren't for me. I really like the bottle water bottle. It has a spout or a a spot to like actually drink from. And the really cool part about these is they have a pill dispenser holder container thing on the bottom. So I always have some lactose pills in here because myself and most of my family needs those a lot, especially when we're out and about. And then I sometimes also have pills for my various diseases in here. It also keeps water cold for a very long time. If I put some ice in here, I did the other day, I put some ice in here, I left it in a vehicle while we were doing some stuff for a few hours, and then the next day there was still ice in here. So it keeps things cold when you want them to. Highly recommend it. And I think it's significantly cheaper than the more popular water bottles as well. We have quite a few of these. I originally got a green one, and then Jared wanted to buy one, and this one was cheaper. So he bought this one, and he didn't really want to use the one with the pink lid, so we switched. And then one of my other kids has one. We really like them. Oh, one of the things I just raved about, I think in my a week and a half ago's newsletter, was Thermacell. I had never used these before, but because we had so much rain in June, record-breaking rain, the mosquitoes have been insane. They've been insane. So we bought a Thermacell, which they've been on sale for a while. I'll leave it linked below and check out to see if they're still on sale. We just turn that on when we're in the backyard and the mosquitoes be gone. It works so well. Highly recommend it. Another thing that I've been using a ton, if you've watched my videos for years, you've probably maybe noticed, if you're observant, I almost never wear my rings. I don't know, I don't like the feeling of rings. My fingers are freakishly small, but a couple months ago I bought some silicone rings and it's been a game changer. Like I actually don't even notice that I'm wearing it very often. Because my fingers are so freakishly small, there's not as many color options for me, but if your fingers are average, normal, there's tons of color options. They're super cheap. I got a pack of 4 for, I don't know, like $10 or something like that. And yeah, I don't know if I will really ever go back to wearing my rings. It's really good for the summer especially. I notice my fingers will get swollen when I'm like warm or going for a walk, and I have a panic feeling when I'm trying to remove my rings. But in the winter, like I can't just get my rings resized, because in the winter my rings are too big because my fingers are always cold. So yeah, silicone ring to the rescue. I have not looked back. I don't know if I've worn my rings, like my actual rings, since getting them. And I don't feel too bad because Jared's been wearing a silicone ring for a few years already. So, I mean, if he's been doing it, I should be able to do it too, right? Okay, I think two other favorites. First of all, I talked about this quite a bit in my newsletter on my blog. We got a rainfall shower head a couple weeks ago, almost a month ago. I can't believe we haven't had one before this. Jared has wanted one for years, and I was just like, oh, they're too expensive, and why would we want that? And first of all, they're not actually nearly as expensive as I thought. At least the one we got isn't. And oh my goodness, yeah, it's way better than I thought it was going to be. It's just, it gives you more coverage. It's more comfortable. We are going on a trip right away. We will be on one when this goes out. And I'm like already looking forward to coming home so I can have a nice shower again. Because the problem is now when we go anywhere else, their showers are not going to be nearly as good. So there's a pro and a con to it. It makes life at home better, but life going away, not as good. And then the last thing is electric bikes. So we sold our bikes when we moved here 2 years ago because they weren't super great. So we didn't feel the need to pack them up to move. But then in the winter, we got some e-bikes that fold up. They were on sale. Jared was excited to get them. I was, once again, like the rainfall shower head, I was like, I don't know, why do we need an electric bike? Like, I just don't know if we'll use them. We're so using them. Edmonton has more park space than any city in North America. There's so many paths. I think we have more urban parks. I think it's like 22 times Central Park size. Okay, we have a lot. So we have a lot of bike paths. We got a lot of shared paths. We have been biking a ton. The first time we actually took it out was in the beginning of April. I think that was the first time. It wasn't a super fun time for me, but I realized a few days later that I had pneumonia. So I think that's why I was kind of out of breath, even though it was giving me assistance. And the nice thing is you can like turn the assistance up as high or low as you want. So often when we're biking, I'm not using a lot of power assist, just enough that we can like go farther. But sometimes we want to go even farther, so then you can have more assist so you're not dead before you get to somewhere cool. It's been amazing how much I've actually enjoyed it. Yeah, it turns out Jared is smarter than me, and I should just say yes to things and be more joyful when he wants certain things because he knows what he's talking about. Okay, so those are some of my favorites from recently. I would love to hear some of your favorite fiction books, nonfiction books, other favorites from the summer. Let me know.